Good evening, my wool gathering friends. Welcome to tonight's episode, which happens to be 170. On tonight's episode, we are going to be covering the new record from Health. It's called Rat Wars. It's industrial and it's a bit bleak, but it's a pretty tasty record. I think if you gave it a listen, you'd like it. And I'm going to try to stump Mr. Mundy again. It's never very fruitful, but I'm going to give it a try in the style of Lester Bangs. And interestingly enough, tonight's challenge is actually Lester Bangs. So that's kind of fun. And we are also going to be choosing our top 5 plus some honorable mention closing tracks on records. You know, on the show, we like to do our opening and songs and closing songs to see if that completes a good record. So we're going to look at closing songs tonight. I do not do this alone. I have a partner, and his name is Metalhead Mundy.
Step inside into his mind. It's boy band time. It's
Metalhead Mundy.
Fresh off his tour with the Backstreet Boys. He's back.
Yeah,
Metalhead
I wish.
Mundy. See, when we made that, we knew he loved them secretly.
I'd love some of that money. That's for sure.
Yeah, I wonder if they're still rolling in it these days. If they're getting residuals.
I mean, they tour, so.
Well, that's true. That's true.
All those 90s groups are still touring in some fashion or other.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's a nostalgia thing now.
That means we're old. That's what that means.
Yeah. I have my wife has one friend who absolutely lives like it is the purpose of her life to continue to go to New Kids on the Block shows. And they have some kind of like fan camp or expo or something, like she wants to do that. And yeah, I'm like, oh, okay.
Here's the question. Let's say that Lacey was an NKOT beer. And she said, "You got to take me. Are you going?"
I would escort her there and back. I don't believe I would set foot anywhere near that event.
Okay. Fair enough. Just thought I would check. But you did see a cool show this weekend.
I did. We took a little trip down to, it's about 2-ish hours away down to southern Indiana, Brown County, the hopping city of Nashville, Indiana. That's a joke if anyone doesn't know. It's very small, but very popular. There's a big state park down there, and it's a really, really pretty area. But they have a venue called the Brown County Music Center. Absolutely awesome venue. This was our 3rd time there. We went to see Flogging Molly. I think it might have been our 3rd time seeing them together too. So, because that was our first concert date that we went on. We saw them like 2 years ago on our anniversary, and we just saw them 2 days ago. So it's kind of turned into our band, I guess.
Did you get anything while you were at the show?
I did. Their tour is called the Road to Rebellion Tour, and I scored pretty awesome t-shirt. It's got the little skeleton and the Scully cap there, and the shaking hands with the devil and all that stuff. Pretty awesome. They had some really cool shirts. It was a long merch line. I was hoping we wouldn't get up there and they're like, sorry, no fat guy sizes, but they still had some. So.
Speaking of cool shirts, man, what are you wearing tonight?
Oh yeah, I don't know. That's kind of the white on the green. It's kind of hard to see, but it's also fuzzy white. Little Wanderings and Wool Gathering merch there.
Nice. Yeah. If anybody wants one of those, let us know. We can make that happen.
Yeah. The Flogging Molly show, I mean, they're always incredible. They're so good. Dave King is just a little ball of energy, Irish ball of energy. And it was funny when he came out, they did their first song, and then he was like, hey, there's somebody right down here with a Fastway shirt on, which that's a band he used to sing for in the early 80s. And they were kind of a hard rock metal band. And he flipped him off and he was like, thanks for the memories, I guess. And it was pretty funny, but they were awesome. Amigo the Devil, which we were not terribly familiar with. I had heard of them, but not heard too much of their stuff. They were incredible. We are now fans of them. We've been listening to them all weekend. And the opener was it was funny. They're this group of kids from the UK, and I say kids because they look like we were sitting there watching them, and I'm like, man, I feel like this is my son Justice is 21. I'm like, man, I feel like he's he's 22 now. Like, I feel like we're watching Justice and his friends, and they have a band. I'm like,
were they good?
They were great. They were really energetic. I don't even know how to describe their sound, really. It was kind of had a little bit of a punk flavor. The bass definitely had a little bit of a punk vibe. The bass player was really good. But yeah, they were fun. They're called Jen and the Degenerates. It's GEN because her name. She said she is oh gosh, I can't remember how she put it. She said she was Jen of the Eve, not Jen something something. So it was GEN because it's short for Genevieve. But yeah, they were great. They were fun. She came down during one song, was running all around the venue singing, and she was, down talking to everybody when they were done. It was their very first North American tour, so that was kind of cool.
Were they Irish as well?
No, they're from I think they said the members were from Liverpool and Manchester or something like that.
Gotcha.
But they were good. Great show. Good time.
Yeah. And there's more new music out. El Estepario has a new band.
Oh my gosh.
A new song, which just came out, which was pretty interesting.
The band is called The Cost. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and their first song, they put a video out. Mm-hmm. And did you watch the whole thing? Did you watch the stuff at the end?
No. So I did get a flavor of it though.
After the song is done, they do kind of like a little. It's the three of them sitting there, and they're kind of talking. It's a little behind the scenes thing. And they're talking they say they had just written the song the week before, and just it was kind of all thrown together real quickly. But yeah, it's pretty cool. But the song's great. I really like it a lot.
Yeah, and I guess one of the things I appreciated the most is that he played within the song. He didn't show off and do anything crazy like he does on his TikToks or YouTube videos or anything. He just played to the song and what the song needed, which was nice, because I think somebody like that who's told they're the next coming and is crazy skilled could go a little overboard showing his talent, and he didn't.
Same. Yeah, he didn't show off. I was glad to see that. He just did what the song needed. I did think it was funny though. I feel like they showed him, they focused on him with the camera a little bit more than you normally might with the drummer.
Right.
And there's a part that he does a couple of times with a real fast repeating kick drum that they kind of look down on the beater hitting the drum. And I was like, yeah, they only did that because it's him.
Well, you got to be smart too. I mean, you're selling. He's the sell of that band.
Oh, so, absolutely.
Very smart on their part, but good start.
Yeah,
I'll be curious if they put an album out. We will definitely review it here on the show. Mm-hmm. Speaking of reviews, I have one for you.
Uh-oh.
I have one by Lester Bangs. So
nice.
This challenge isn't inspired by Lester Bangs. It is Lester Bangs, which is exciting, which tells you the time period is late 60s to early 80s. So you're kind of now in the zone for this.
Right.
All right. For those of you who don't know, I read a review. I pull out the information that would absolutely give it away. And the person, in this case, it's just Monday. Sometimes we have more on the show. Have to figure out what group and album we are talking about. I think the first part won't give you a ton, but it will do the context for the album after the second part I read you, which will give you the band.
Okay.
And I think you will definitely figure it out. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right, Lester Bangs. This album opens with a powerful blast of raw funk called this song. It features jagged barrel house piano, fierce guitar, and one of the most convincing raunchy vocals this lead singer has ever recorded. This angry hard rock is that at which this band have always excelled and given us so seldom. And this track is one of their very best ever, with brooding lyrics that ring chillingly true. From there on out, though, the road runs mainly downhill. Okay. Any thoughts so far?
So dirty-ish hard rock, I guess. Piano. Okay. I will need the next clue.
All right, here we go. I think this will tell you the album, though. Once you get the band, you'll be like, oh, yeah, no, I think I know what you're talking about. This could have been a fine album, but the unavoidable truth, and this seems to be insurmountable problem for this band, is that so much of it is out of the extremely worn cloth as the song on all their other albums. It's impossible to judge it outside the context of the rest of their work. This guitarist's slithery guitar, this band member's carnival calliope organ work and whorehouse piano, and the perfect complement to the lead singer's rococo visions.
Okay. Oh boy. Gosh. I'm trying to think of like bands that not like a person that has piano and organ. Wow. Huh. Like it sounds like it's featured. It's a featured instrument. It's not something that just like shows up for a song or two. So, wow. Okay.
What if I said to you bass piano?
Bass piano. I'm not sure that helps at all. I don't. Yeah, I got nothing so far.
And the other clue was that the lead singer has visions.
Has visions. Okay. All right. Yep. All right. I was thinking later than this, so it's The Doors.
Bing, ding, ding, ding. Which album do you know?
No, because I don't. I mean, I can only pull probably a couple of their album titles. So, gosh, I don't know. Like the one that pops into my head first is like Morrison Hotel.
It is that one, and it's Roadhouse Blues is the song that he's talking about in the beginning, and then for him the record goes downhill.
Okay, I mean that is for me far and away their best song.
It's a great one. Yeah,
it is a great song.
Yep. Well, I suppose we'll count that as a win in the style of Lester Bangs. Yeah, I thought for sure when you heard the piano part, you'd be like, oh, yeah, there we go.
No, yeah. Well, like I said, my mind was going later than that. So
yeah, it was 1970 is when the review came out, Rolling Stone.
Huh.
And so I have to be careful because it keeps giving me the you're about out of free views. So I start paying Rolling Stone to get the reviews. So anyway, all right, on to our challenge. This week's challenge was yours, right?
Yes.
Go ahead and explain it, and then we'll jump in.
So, I mean, it's pretty simple. Not last time, but a couple weeks ago, recently, we did favorite opening tracks. On the show, when we do reviews, we always talk about the opening tracks, closing tracks, if they work in those positions and that kind of thing. And yeah, we did a challenge with favorite opening tracks. And so I was like, well, an easy one, I guess, is favorite closing tracks. So try to come up with your 5 favorites of those, I guess.
I had no problem coming up with 5. In fact, I had a couple honorable mentions, but this is definitely harder than opening. I think bands tend to lead more with their great songs
Sure.
than place them at the end. So this was a little more challenging, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they want to grab your attention and,
Mhm.
make sure you're going to keep listening. So at least go past the first track. Oh, that song
Mhm.
was awesome. What's next?
Mhm.
And then, yeah, and there, I think closing out an album, I think there's different ways to do it. I feel like you and I disagree on that a little bit. You
Mhm.
tend to want more of a like a punch in the face, like, oh, they nailed it, stuck the landing. And I enjoy that too, but I don't mind like kind of a cool down, ease out, or like, we've been rocking your face off for this long, and we're just gonna kind of relax you out of the experience. But
One of my honorable mentions is exactly what you just said.
cool, great.
So, all right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, my number 5 was, I'm going to go ahead and put this one out there because we just did a Doors review.
Mhm.
My choice is off self-titled The Doors, The End.
Oh
It
yeah.
was also an Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
Fantastic song, and it truly was the end of the record.
Yeah.
It's just a great. I think a lot of people who don't know the Doors or don't like the Doors necessarily know that song
Sure.
and really enjoy it, and it was fantastic in that movie. So that's my number 5.
That song, I mean, it's super long. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
10-minute song.
Yep.
Um so yeah, I mean that's one of those where I can see it closing out the album, but I could see it maybe like at that time on the album, maybe kind of like being the lead off of the B-side.
Mm-hmm.
Could work either way. But yeah, it's definitely a great song. And it's there's so much to it and so much going on. Um it's yeah, it's kind of an earworm too. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
one you hear and just kind of sticks with you for a couple of days.
Absolutely. And I almost thought about what about vinyls because they have 2, and I thought no, we're going to do complete albums. So I
Yeah.
didn't go that route with vinyls. So
Yeah.
okay, what do you got? What's your number 5?
My number 5 is Anthrax, a little song called Finally.
Are you sure it's not the finale?
Well, it's actually spelled like finale, but there's the line over the E, so it's the long E. It's finally. So a little trickery there. That's off the album State of Euphoria from 1988. It's just a great song, and I love the way the song begins because the previous song ends, and this one kind of comes in with a weird little guitar. I don't even know what to call it. I mean, it's not. They hit like 2 notes, but it's like it's distorted and manipulated to where it has a really weird low sound, and it kind of repeats. And they hit that like twice, and then it kicks into the riff, and this one's just a face melter. It's fast, it's mean, it's one of my favorite lines is I drink 3 6-packs just so I can look at your face. I mean, it's just it is a mean song, and it's great, and it's just at the end when the song they hit the wong and it's kind of sustaining, and Joey's like, see ya. It's just a great way to finish an album. It's super fun.
JPP says it's a pitch delay.
There you go.
So thank you, JPP. You should be sitting here with us. You're invited back anytime because you know things like what pitch delays are.
Yeah, we're not musicians and we don't know that technical stuff. So
A couple of noobs up here. So
yeah,
thank you, JPP.
I just know what I like, man.
And I know when I hear it. My number 4 was off of Led Zeppelin 4, When the Levee Breaks. A beautiful song. Love
Absolute
that.
classic.
And that guitar sound on that is so great. And I believe that one has also been in some movies and some trailers because they dig that. Paul Miller is laughing. So my number 4 is Zeppelin 4. And that was another one last week. We were talking about albums of the 70s. that easily could have been in one of my top 5.
Right.
Zeppelin could have had 2 or 3 probably, because that's
Yeah.
one of the greatest albums of all time as well. So there you have it.
Yeah.
What you got, number 4?
Well, your choice. I mean, it's a great song, classic. For my number 4, I went with "Stabbing Westward."
No.
Yeah, I mean, imagine that. On their album "Darkest Days" from 1998, jump ahead a decade. The closing track is a song called "Waking Up Beside You," and it's basically a song about the end of a relationship. It's kind of him, which is not an uncommon theme for Stabbing Westward. But it's basically a guy saying that, God, I miss waking up beside you. So, and it's kind of all the stuff that, used to happen in the relationship, and that's over now. And God, I miss waking up beside you. So,
did you say in 88?
98.
I was gonna say, I didn't think they were around in 88, but
no, the last State of Euphoria is 88. This is a decade ahead, 98.
Okay, gotcha. I'll have to check that song out. I don't know.
It's so good. It's the mood of it after this entire album, the mood of it, the lyrics, it's kind of like the first couple minutes of the song are kind of more subdued, and then the bam guitar kind of kicks in and he gets more emotional with the vocals, and it's so
Is it more slowed down for them though?
The beginning is, yeah.
Okay. Very good. What do I want my number 3 to be? All right. I'm gonna go with, well, I didn't put them in particular order this time. I just wrote them down. So my number 3 will be Alice in Chains' Wood off of Dirt.
Perfect.
I remember I was working at Big Red Liquors when this came out, and I remember they played it. I mean, it was on X103. That was still fairly new.
Yep.
And so there wasn't a ton of alternative to play. So you got Wood a lot.
Yeah.
We were in there listening to it all the time, and got the CD, of course, and all that. But I loved that song. It was so good. The whole record was amazing. So Wood, my number 3.
So many jokes with what you were saying, but anyway, moving on. Honestly, I'm surprised JPP's not chiming in with something to say about that. But my number 3 was a little ditty from a band called Megadeth. Their album So Far So Good So What. We're going back to 1988 for this one. The song's called Hook in Mouth. And man, when I first started getting into Megadeth, which would have been probably around 89, like the year after this came out, this song, it's kind of all about like government censorship, that kind of thing. Like it calls out the PMRC, which was huge at that time.
Tipper Gore. Yep.
Yeah, it's so great. And I mean, I think on Peace Sells and So Far So Good So What, the riffs and the speed, I mean, Dave was just at the top of his game on these albums. And I think So Far So Good So What, I don't think that gets near the love that it deserves. But yeah, Hook in Mouth, such a great song.
All right. 89. I didn't realize you were listening to metal in 89.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so around I was always kind of into hard rock because my uncle, like my youngest uncle that I was close to, he was into Quiet Riot, Def Leppard, AC/DC, that kind of stuff. But then I started, around 88, 89, 6th, 7th grade, I started getting into Ozzy and Guns N' Roses, and then kind of going heavier from there.
Gotcha. All right. Great choice. Hopefully JPP's still hanging around. Hopefully he'll throw a couple our way from his catalog. All right. We're up to number 2, aren't we?
Yes.
Okay, my number 2 is Public Enemy, Fear of a Black Planet, and the
Nice.
song is Fight the Power.
Hell yeah.
Which is kind of surprising that song was the final song on that record because
Yeah.
it became such a big hit. It's got a great video for it on the streets. Just amazing. I mean, what they did late 80s, early 90s was absolutely incredible. He was the Black CNN, as he called it back then.
Yep.
And I've talked about this a million times, but Chuck taught me a lot throughout the ways. And Fight the Power is an amazing song, and that's my number 2 off of Fear of a Black Planet.
It's a great song. It is odd that it's kind of buried at the end of the album. Usually those songs don't become singles or hits or anything like that.
Yeah, and that was a long album. There were like 16 or 18 songs on it or something like that. So, yeah. All right.
Good one.
What's your penultimate song?
My number 2 is a great band. I think a bit of an underrated band called Corrosion of Conformity.
Mm-hmm.
In 2005, they released an album called In the Arms of God. And the last song is the title track, In the Arms of God. This could easily have been my number 1. It is, God, one of the best closeout songs ever. It is, I cannot recommend it enough. It's dynamic. It's got, it just kind of really rocks hard. And then it kind of drops out and the music's kind of riding real low and there's a little bit of drums kind of just underneath, and Pepper starts kind of speaking this part. He kind of does like a little mini speech, like almost sounds like a poem, but then man, when it kicks back in, it is just absolutely slamming and so good. Perfect album ender.
Corrosion of Conformity. Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't in Maine, but it's a banger. Thanks, Paul. Paul, you going to give us one? We're waiting. We're not saying another word until we hear from you. I'm just kidding. All right. Number 1. My number 1. Well, actually, I'm going to give you my honorable mentions. Then I'll tell you my number 1.
Okay, we can do that. So
my 3 honorable mentions that I have are from Hemispheres. Rush is La Villa Strangiato. It's just a musical piece. It's fantastic. It's beautiful. It starts off with a little Spanish guitar and then gets a little bit harder and does what Rush does with their prog rock. My next one is Pearl Jam Release off of 10. It was an interesting album finisher. That's another one that went out kind of softer, kind of atmospheric in a way. And then my last one, which was another one that really kind of on a banger of a record, doesn't limp off because of the content, but Project Renegade, Ultra Terra, No Country for White Flags. What an amazing song to finish.
So good.
That record is incredible, and it's a lot slower and softer than its other ones, but she had a beautiful voice, and then the content of that and the fact that they're sort of fighting in Greece to make their way, really important.
Yeah, those are all great choices, and glad to hear that they were on your list because, man, that's such a great song.
Yeah, it is. It almost made my top 5, and I'm like, it hasn't been around long enough. When it's around a little bit longer, then it'll make my list, maybe.
Yeah.
But my number 1, surprise, surprise, is Rush, but probably not what you're thinking. It's actually the last song on the last record, which is so appropriate. It's called The Garden, and it's all about kind of taking care of your own world and your own relationships. It's a garden to protect. The measure of a life is love and respect. It's a beautiful song, beautiful sentiment, and the thought that that's the last song that they recorded and put out is pretty amazing in their 40-year career. So that is my number 1, The Garden from Clockwork Angels.
Awesome. So Paul's put up a couple here.
Mm-hmm.
This one, Discharge from Anthrax. I knew I wanted to use an Anthrax song, and there was a couple that I there was 3 that came up immediately, and I settled on finally. This is a great one. Discharge. It's a great song. His other choice, Damage Inc., of course, ends Master of Puppets, which the day we're recording this is 38 years old. So, yeah, very cool. Released on this day. Ripe with Decay, 9 Inch Nails. Yeah, he usually ends albums in an interesting way.
Yep.
So, but my honorable mentions, I had a couple, and I had a different Metallica song on mine. Dyer's Eve rounds out And Justice for All, and man, it is an absolute banger. I love the way they do it, because the track prior to that is on up to And Justice for All, and including And Justice for All. They had kind of long instrumentals on their albums, and they would kind of put them towards the end usually. And To Live Is to Die is the one on And Justice for All, and it ends with like kind of an acoustic, kind of slow, real pretty thing. And it immediately kicks into Dyer's Eve. It would just just comes in hard and heavy and angry, and what a great way to close out an album. Paul said he chose Blackened for the opener and had to switch it up. Yeah, I recall that. My other honorable mention is Hollow from Pantera, which is the last track on Vulgar Display of Power. That's another one where it's the last song in the album, and the first half of it is kind of ballady, or as ballady as Pantera is going to get. But it's the lyrics are really touching. I mean, it's kind of talking about sounds like a friend that has OD'd and is either in a coma or passed away or something like that. But and then the second half of the song is just monster riff, and it's so hard and heavy and emotional. It's very good.
Yeah, I hear their guitar was all right.
Yeah, he was okay. So my number one is a more recent song. It is from 2020, actually. It is a little song called Secret Cities from Jack the Radio.
Oh, wow.
Off of their Creatures. Yep. It's off of the album Creatures, which is kind of where we got to know them. And they're friends of the show. And they just announced today, I don't know if you saw it, I tagged you in it. They have new music coming in April. Song in April, album in June.
Yeah, they've already released a few, so it looks like they're building a whole thing. And people need to check out Creatures as an entire record if they haven't. It's really good. And then I think you could probably still get the comic on their site that goes along with it.
It's on I imagine they sell it, but it's also on A Wave Blue World, their website. But
yeah, both places. But
yes, so Secret Cities is amazing. It is my favorite song on that album. It just happens to be the closer, and it kind of it's one that kind of brings the mood down a little bit. It's a little slower, a little more introspective. It's just almost a perfect song. I mean, the music, all of the instruments are doing exactly what they need to do. The layers are incredible. George's voice, it is by far his best vocal performance on this album. It's just a killer song. Beautiful lyrics. So good.
Yeah, Paint the Sky is my favorite one on that record.
Yeah.
It's another beautiful song. So wishing you both good health. But he just saw himself out, so we won't be able to kick him out.
Full of the dad jokes today.
He is. All right. Well, that was fun. Album closers. Next week, our challenge is going to be picking our top five songs, but that'd be easy. Top 5 albums from the 1980s. which we could be all over the map
Oh,
because the
man.
way the 80s came in and the way they went out were very different. So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting.
5 is that just doesn't even feel possible.
No, well, we've got honorable mentions too. So
Yeah, where we might have a few.
20.
Yeah.
No, it'll be fun. I can't imagine. I bet we don't cross over again. There's so many records. I bet we have 10 unique albums. Hopefully everybody else will play along. I'll post it and see if we can get some people to post theirs and see what everybody dug during the 80s.
Right.
All right. That brings us to the album of the week, which I believe was new. This band was new to both of us, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of them. A band called Health, and the album's called Rat Wars. It's an industrial band. I would say after listening to this, they don't go as hard as a lot of industrial bands. At times they do, but overall they seem to be a little sleeker, a little softer at times, maybe a little more polished. I don't know. What do you think?
I think the heavy comes and goes a little bit, that's fine with me. I thought it was interesting. This album came out some point last year in 2023. I don't know how long exactly it's been
December.
out. Okay. So yeah, not too long ago.
Or November, one of the two.
But yeah, I've never heard of these guys. I take that back. I think I have, but I didn't follow up on that. Like I believe in some fashion they collaborated or did a remix or somehow interacted with 9 Inch Nails at some point. And for whatever reason, I didn't follow that up. So yeah, these guys are pretty new to me. I went back and I started listening to their first release, and yeah, it's real. It's just kind of noisy, and it didn't feel like there was much more than that going on. I feel like they have definitely grown and changed over their career. So I'll be interesting to see how far back I can go before I'm like, nope.
Yeah, I haven't gone back yet. I was really busy. I want to make sure I give proper attention to this record, so I haven't gone back yet. Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that because I feel like this is pretty tight and pretty melodic.
It's from what I heard of the first album to this, night and day.
Okay. Well, I'm kind of curious. I'll say one thing. I didn't, have headphones on at first. And I was listening. I initially thought it was a female singer.
Okay.
Very soft. And then as I figured out it was a guy, I'm like, oh my gosh, he has that Silver Sun pickup vibe,
Beautiful voice.
On the voice. Yeah, it was fantastic. It was very smooth. And there wasn't, I kept waiting for some super angry screaming that you get in industrial a lot, and you didn't get it from him. There was another song where we featured somebody else who growled a little bit. But for the most part, we got pretty smooth singing, and I like it. Let's go. Let's jump in. First song, Demigods. Do we have a good album opener here?
I think so. I think this is a great way to open this record. You have like a kind of a cool, like a pretty synth intro, and it kind of gets into like a monster riff and just kind of a cool slow groove. Like I said, beautiful vocals. It's kind of a cool switch at the end, and it turns into like this real heavy rocker, like right at the end. I'm like, oh, I kind of hate when bands do that. Like they have this, the song is great, but then they come in at the end with just this giant monster, awesome riff. And I'm like, I want more of that. And then it's over.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a great song.
Yeah. I liked, kind of a slow build. And then you do have some heavy guitar work going on, but you've got this keyboard that's kind of light, has these high notes. It makes it have kind of an epic feeling to it. And then they had like a cool breakdown where he's sort of singing in a vacuum with some cool drum beats and then some ambient sound that leads into what you're talking about, where it just hammers back in and kicks in with these brutal lyrics. This song, and I would say probably the entire album is just sad and bleak. And there was, I'm probably, because I was an English major, I probably look into this too much. I would be curious to know. So he says, luckless child born still, loveless child, burden of many. So the born still,
Sure.
is he like he was still born, like as in, he's luckless, he was born, but he's a burden, or is it a play on being stillborn?
Right.
Like he was born dead. Like
I caught that too. I
I wasn't sure. I wish we're gonna call him into the studio. Here we go. Just one question, but I thought that was interesting. I thought some of the lyrics on here were really clever, and my note was one hell of an album opener.
Yes,
I was in at that point.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, second song, Future of Hell.
Yeah, this is the opening is really cool. It's kind of a staccato kind of, beat, and then it kind of comes in and out, up and down, lots of dynamics. Just a kind of a really cool little song. I enjoyed this one quite a bit.
My first comment was it very much feels like a Nine Inch Nails opening. It was just industrial goodness, you know, and it did all the things that a good industrial song does. Doesn't mean it's repetitive or anything like that, but it just really sits in that pocket. And again, starting with that bleak opening, the next one, it feels like he's just stuck. My lies are undone, or whoever he's talking about, the lies are undone, and the walls are closing in. And this one was short. It got in and got out, and then seamlessly kind of flows into the next song, which is called Hateful, featuring Sierra.
Right. And this one I thought was pretty cool. It's kind of a little more dancey than the first two songs, but it also maintains that darkness. They do not get away from the dark, even though you want to dance. You want to be sad and dancing. But and it kind of comes in at the end and hits a little harder at the end, which I thought was really cool. Good way to end the song.
Yeah. And again, go ahead.
Sierra, just like I'm not familiar with who that is, but it seemed like she was just kind of doing backing vocals. Like she wasn't really like featured out front in this track.
Correct.
Yeah.
I like this one as much as the others. Well, maybe not as much as the first one, but it does continue that theme of lies. Again, talking about that, about turning away from love, which, I kind of, it's interesting because it ties in sort of with the one before it, the Future of Hell. And, to a lot of people, hell is the absence of love or whatever. So I thought that was kind of a cool connection. It has a long outro.
Yes.
Which was nice. And then kicks into it seamlessly goes from Hateful to Of All Else.
Yeah, this happens a couple of times on this album where the next song is in parentheses, the title's in parentheses, and it kind of completes a phrase with the song before it. And both times it happens on this record, the song is also kind of just a continuation of the theme, kind of, or well, I guess musically more than anything, but it's almost it's a change into a different track, but it's continuing the song. And it's really I don't know, it's almost like it's just kind of extra. Like it's not terrible. It's not like it's fine. It's good. I enjoyed it, but it's just kind of extra. Like I don't know if they didn't know where to end the song, or if the song, they looked at it and maybe it was too long and they decided to do these other tracks. Like I would be interested to see what that process was, but it's cool.
Okay. So this for me kind of puts a cap on those first four songs because it's like it goes back to that theme of the child again, the helpless child being tossed into this uncaring world. And then I feel like we shift a little bit in some of the songs afterward. And there's a key line there. where I think it shifts. I could be wrong. I'm probably full of it, but and as far as the song goes, yeah, it just felt like a continuation of the other. Nothing new, fresh, nothing exciting there until we get to the next song,
Yeah.
Crack Metal, which I felt like we're back in business, baby.
Yeah,
We're ferocious now.
So a title like that, I don't know. It kind of conjures an expectation, and I'm not sure if this met it or not. Like, I feel like it kind of did, but it definitely, it starts out heavy and fast. It kind of slows down for the choruses. And again, this is another song where the ending just punches you right in the face. Like, it hits so hard at the end, and I'm like, why didn't you do that for the whole song? But it is great. There's nothing on this album that I did not enjoy. It's just, different levels of that. So, but yeah, I like this song quite a bit.
I felt like this song was needed. It needed to change the pace a little bit, so you don't just get in that pocket and you just, because industrial music sometimes can just kind of start blending together if they don't do something interesting. But here, I think because it came in so hard, it was really fast paced. It was jarring compared to what we just had. So I think it was well placed on the record, and it was a good song.
Yeah,
I liked it. The next song I really dug, called Unloved. And go ahead.
What I loved about this song the most,
Ooh, the most.
the synths were really cool, but the bass and the drums on this song, the way they are layered in and what they are doing in this song was outstanding and really made this track for me.
Yeah, it was a little more mellow too, which coming off of Crack Metal, I think was another nice placement, because we're going up and down, we're riding the wave. I love the line, "It was not my fault you were unloved as a child. I wasn't there." So it's almost like we're getting all this, the songs before about this poor child and these, but this isn't an excuse to treat me horribly in a relationship, or to put things on me that aren't there. I'm not what you're saying I am. And I thought that was really clever, and I liked this one a lot. This might have been my maybe number 2 song on the record.
Okay.
Next song is Children of Sorrow, and I bet you love the opening.
Oh man, what a groove. So killer. Just, yeah, right away, this one was great. The guitars were awesome. There's a couple places where they hit these abrupt pauses, like there's silence for just a second and then boom, kicks right back in. So effective. And yeah, this one was just a ton of fun for me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, when I heard the guitar opening, I thought, oh yeah, Mundy's gonna do
Oh
it.
yeah,
because it was real heavy, and then we had a little bit of chug going on, and Children of Sorrow, baby. We're back to that theme, right?
good stuff.
Just had a little different aesthetic on this one.
Yeah.
The next song is Sicko featuring Godflesh, and here we get a little bit of growling on from Godflesh, and then Jake's normal voice singing over, which again was a nice change up.
So I don't know if you are familiar with Godflesh at all.
I'm not really familiar.
I would highly recommend checking them out. If JPP was here, he would very much second that. So Godflesh is basically, I think it kind of was 2 guys, but kind of ended up being 1 guy. It's Justin Broderick. They've been around, I think, since the late 80s, but they didn't really release any music until like 92-ish, I think. So they've been around a long time. And basically it was the 2 guys and a drum machine. So, and Justin is the one that does, I think he does most of like the guitar and the singing and stuff. So Godflesh, absolutely amazing. Check them out. And this song is 100% their vibe. It's kind of like that slow and plodding to mid-tempo kind of stuff, which is Godflesh. And obviously you hear Justin's voice. It's a lot of that. The kind of he has this pocket that he sits in that's kind of that growly kind of thing. But yeah, so I was excited to hear what they were going to bring to this song, and it makes absolute total sense. Loved it.
Yeah, I feel like he's getting some stuff off his chest here. You
Yeah.
breed like rats, right in that line. I feel like this has got to be one of the most cathartic records for somebody. And I don't know that we ever get to an ending where the person writing, which is Jake, obviously, but is actually turns a corner. But man, is there some stuff just like pouring out. He must have been living with some stuff because this record is harsh.
Yeah.
Next one is called Ashamed, and this one is just absolutely brutal, personally brutal for someone.
Yeah.
Um,
so the lyrics, it is very much that, and it's one of those things where the juxtaposition of the lyrics and the music is interesting, because the song is like, it's kind of dark and moody, but man, it is gorgeous, just absolutely gorgeous, backdrop for what he is saying.
Yeah, it absolutely kind of leads in with vocals on this one rather than punching in with the music, which was a little bit different.
Yeah.
But he's like, I can't change. You can't change for me. And then this was the part where it got just like uber dark. I'm ashamed of being born. I know I'm too young to die, but I'm old enough now. I mean, my gosh.
Yeah.
Hope he's turned the corner on that. That is just absolutely brutal. This had another one of those outros that just kind of, it starts off and then it just kind of peters down to the second part, which essentially seems like the second part of the song, of being born.
Yeah.
In parentheses.
And this one was cool. Yeah. This is the other time that we get the kind of the continuation of the theme. And this one is quite a bit different than the main song, where you're getting a lot of acoustic guitar going on, which they still managed to make sound pretty dark. And it is fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the acoustic edition, though. It was just enough of a difference. Even though he's like, we still see the body, still a stone now. How long left in me? Goodness. Just brutal. But musically, I thought it was a nice second half of the song with Ashamed. Just enough different. Do you know what DSMV stands for?
I have no idea.
Okay, I just thought maybe I was stupid, so I'm glad that you don't know either. But we're back to hard. Like, this one's hard. It's driving.
So this one has very much, like, almost to the point of sounding like one of their songs. It has a very Rammstein vibe. And which is not a bad thing, but it's a little close.
You mean to their original songs, to their older ones you were listening to?
No, it's close. It sounds like Rammstein.
Oh, like Rammstein. Okay,
gotcha. Almost a little too much, but not. It's fine.
Okay.
And one thing I really thought was kind of cool about this is the programmed drums. They kind of like, you can almost call it a trope of industrial music, but it's like, it's that ping, that high pitched ping on the snare. And so that was kind of fun, kind of different, and like, oh, hey, I know that sound. And it was one thing I did like about this song was that Rammstein groove, the guitar vibe, kind of it never really changes, but then at one point the drums drop to halftime, which is always kind of cool when you have like this riff that's kind of, it's got this beat and then that riff just keeps going, but then the drums are just drop to halftime, and it has this really awesome effect to, the groove and the song and the feel of everything. Very cool song. Very cool.
Yep. And they inserted some breakdowns for the vocals where it was kind of isolated. And then this is it. This is him calling out, "Hear me now, you demigods. Lift me up or let me burn." So he's at that point, and that is the penultimate song. And so that brings us to the final song, is this a good album closer? Don't try. What say you, Mr. Mundy?
I think it is. Again, this is one of those cool down tracks to kind of, help us catch our breath and relax before we take our leave. And this one was interesting. It had an interesting feel, and they were able to evoke this loudness. Like, this song feels very loud, but it's also kind of lush and soft, and like, it's not heavy per se, and it's not hard and driving. It's loud, but it's kind of lush and feels good. Like, well, I mean, as good as it can on this album, but yeah, I dug this one a lot. I think it's a great closer.
I do too. It kind of reminds me of Robert Frost stopping by the woods on a snowy evening, because you don't know if it's a positive ending or if it's negative, because, I've been forced to remember everything I want to forget. Was that a good thing? Like, it was brought back up. He's dealt with it now. Or is it, oh my God, I got all this crap to deal with. I don't know what to do. So kind of an interesting ending, I think. And you're right. It was, I guess lush is the word. I'll go with your word on there. It's definitely slower than the other ones. It has a long outro, sort of kind of rides itself out. So I guess it ties up the record either way. We don't know necessarily. We're hoping that this is a good thing, but so I will say it is an adequate album ender.
Okay.
In a Frostian way. So, all right. What are you going to give it? What's your score? And will you listen again?
I will definitely be listening again, and I will be checking this band's catalog out as much as I can get to. I think it's going to be an interesting ride. Like I said, that first album it's a lot of noise. So we'll see how that goes. I'll report back. But for Rat Wars, I would probably give this, I would say 4 out of 5. It's kind of a refreshing industrial sound for me. I always love discovering like, this band's been around for a minute. I've never really heard of them, never listened to them. Happy to have found them. It's for them to have been put in front of me. So yeah, loved it.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with you on that one. I'm going to go with the 4 out of 5. I thought this was really interesting. I didn't know the first time through. I kind of liked it. I loved the first song, but I wasn't sure if I was really going to love it. And as it went on and I dug in a little bit, it was just really interesting. And I think they made some nice choices throughout the record. Lyrically, it was good, intriguing, made me think about it quite a bit, which is always a good sign. And I will definitely listen again. There's some songs in here really dig, and I definitely will listen to those. And so did you go back and listen to Disco 3? It looks like 2 albums from 2017. Is that what you went to?
I honestly, I don't know. I don't remember what it was called.
Oh, never mind. There's older than that. It goes all the way back to 2007.
Yeah, I think it was that one.
Yeah, and then there's one in 2008, 2009. Man, they were very active. 2010, and then Max Payne 3. Wow. Music by Health. Wow. Yeah, they get a lot of records. So I will go back and check it out too. Maybe we can report on a future show what happened when we went back to dig into the catalog to see how long.
I'll report back on what my breaking point was.
We'll start with.
We got to this album and I was like, nope.
Well, now I'm kind of curious because it's got Disco 3 in 2017, then Disco 3 Plus in 2017.
Probably remixes or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And then you have Disco 4, Disco 4 Plus, Disco 4 Part 2. They did Grand Theft Auto sounds. So very active group.
Yeah.
So, all right. Good times. Oh, you want to tell them, everybody what we're doing next week? We're picking a theme right now, kind of.
Yeah, we're going to keep riding this industrial train. Ministry has a new album out, Hopium for the Masses. We've talked about a few songs as they've been dropping them. And the album is out now, so we'll be talking about that next show. We'll spend some time with it this week and let you know what we think about it. And you've got our challenge for next week as well, right?
Yes, we already announced that. For those of you, maybe you just came in late. We will be doing the top 5 albums from the 80s, plus our 20 honorable mentions.
Yep. 20, yeah.
Maybe
I think it would be hard to narrow it down to even 20, honestly.
Yeah, but we're really looking at great. There were a lot of good albums, but like ones that we really call great. Like,
yeah,
yeah. I could see where we would definitely cross over on a few, but I think we'll have quite a few different ones.
Yeah, I think so. So you're a little older than me.
Mm-hmm.
Always like to point that out.
Thank you.
But so you have a different perspective on that time. Like, a lot of the 80s, you were in high school. I was not. So, there's all kinds of things that will point us in different directions of what we're going to choose.
Yeah. And then those middle school years, lots of music too. Maybe not necessarily good music, but we liked it. You know what I mean? Because you're just undiscerning at that age.
Yeah.
It can't be held against me. All right. Mr. Mundy, where might we find you if we were looking for you?
If you go to Instagram and just put in my handle from the show, Metalhead Mundy, it's spelled out for you right there. And come say hi. Look at pictures of my cat. Just went to a show, put some pictures of that up. Exciting stuff.
Whoop, whoop. Yep. And you can find me, Foggy's Pal, on Instagram and Twitter, and on our website, wanderingsandwoolgathering.com. We've had some cool stuff going up there recently. We just put up our top 25 predictions for movies for 2024. Who will take the top spot? Check that out. It is a fantastic article. Go ahead.
On our Wanderings and Wool Gatherings, Wanderings and Wool Gathering Facebook page. March is Metal Month, so hello.
Get ready, everybody.
I'm trying. So far, I've done it. I'm going to try to post some kind of metal video every day. So for the first 3 days of March so far, I have done that. So hopefully I can stick to this.
You should, because you chose these records, you should post Hook and Mouth, Finally, and Dyer's Eve on there.
Well, none of those, I know none of those songs. I'm pretty sure none of them have actual videos. But like today, I put Orion up because it's the anniversary of Master of Puppets. Yes. That doesn't really have a video, but I just put up like the official audio from YouTube. So I'll figure it out.
Cool. Can't wait to see what you have. All right, folks. That is tonight's episode. Don't forget to like the show, share with your friends, and join us on the show. We would love to hear what you think. And you know where you can find us: YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Facebook. You can find us over at the Lantern Facebook page. You can find us on the Wanderings page. Find us on my Twitter. So there is no excuse not to be watching this program. Am I right?
Yeah. We're the best.
Right. We are awesome. See you next Sunday for episode 171, Ministry and Albums from the 80s. What if Ministry Hook comes in with an album from the 80s?
It could happen.
Mind blown. All right. Bye now.